it's going to be me trying to basically make a game from scratch in C++. I've kind of done this before, not to fruition. I've kind of used it to mess around with, if nothing else. But I have been working in the Unreal Engine since it came out. Well, the Unreal Engine 4. I did a couple of things in Unreal Engine 3 as well. I thought it'd be worth. There's a lot of questions keep coming up on various forums and stuff about doing things in C++. So I thought this would be I mean, Twitch isn't exactly the ideal platform for doing programming. It's not clearly not its intended use, as it took me ages to even find a category suitable. And it's not really basic programming either, but whatever. But my intention is to make a fairly primitive game and add new complex ideas and stuff to it, kind of to experiment with how to do different types of things within the game from a C++ perspective. So I've successfully made quite a lot of things work. I had almost like an MMO working before, not multiplayer, but it had all the same premise. You had characters with abilities. The enemy had AI that could use their own stuff, and there was healing abilities and summoning stuff and general damaging attacks and everything you'd expect. I could make a new boss in a couple of lines of code. Basically, it was just like a subclass of a boss character, and then you add in some parameters and you could give it like phase changes, like in other MMOs. You get it down to a certain amount of health, and it comes back with more health and changes its weapon and abilities and stuff. So I'm capable of doing all that sort of thing. I will state before we go any further that I am 100% not a 3D modeler or artist or anything. My stuff in the past has been questionable at best. My intention is to use Cubicle and Magica Voxel, which I think had it here, yeah. And it's literally just creating stuff in cubes, Minecraft-esque style. But obviously, the more cubes you get, the more detail you have. I've done some stuff before. I just wonder if I can open any generic. Oh, these are its things. Probably. I'm not too bad at labeling things, apparently. I know. Was this one? No. There we go. Little things like this. It's very simple. Couple cubes, make some colours and patterns, and you've got like a storagey crate type thing. Anyway, so that's the plan. I decided on a sort of a theme for this game because the idea is to keep it very straightforward. And a game I found that always works quite well. It's not a game I massively enjoy playing, but it's quite good with friends. It's Overcooked, and it's primarily like a two button game with a stick to move around. There's nothing more than that, and it's just cooking ingredients, moving them somewhere else, and interacting with stuff in the environment. So that's what I'm going to try and keep it to. So I've created a basic top-down project, and I'll just it's easier to start with something because I use what they called an extension, I suppose, in Visual Studio called Visual Assist, and it has to parse the entire Unreal Engine, which would have taken, well, I think it took nearly 30 minutes. But essentially what I've done is launch 4.26.1. Hopefully that will... Here we go. And I've literally just gone games, top down, C++, typed in the name and hit create. I have since added a class, and I added a basic enumeration, which I'll go over in a second. But in theory, it's as empty as it's going to be. You just hit play and it works for now until I start doing stuff. I added an extra control as well, which is the right click, which I made output to the. Oh, hang on. It'd be really cool if I could stream both screens. Maybe sometime I'll look into that. But so this is pretty much what you get by default. So it all has the built-in walking around and all the usual stuff. But I've also made it so when I right-click, it outputs in here. I didn't bother to change what the warning that it's a warning or anything, but so I've added a new interact action bound to the word interact, and you just go into the project settings, input, and I added an action called interact that gets triggered on right mouse button, and you can make it get triggered on anything. That's the point of this. So I will never have to change this code once the interact functionality is all working. If you ever want to add like controller support, you just come into the project settings and add, as you can see here with the left mouse click, the set destination. It's got all of the basics. I say basics, I mean this is all VR and stuff as well. So it might be fun to mess around with that. I don't actually have VR, but we can at least implement the code and send it to someone to see if they can get it working or whatever. Might be good fun. So my plan for this game is very straightforward. You'll have I've just kind of randomly thought of something. I wasn't don't have any preconceptions about what it's going to be or whatever. Really, it's the idea will be you have multiple characters. They each have a particular role that they can take, and they can and they have to help each other basically get through puzzles, right? They can move and they can interact with stuff, and only certain characters can interact with certain types of stuff. Simple as that. And my theme for this was going to be like a heist. So the idea will be you have a character that can like pick locks, disable traps. You have a character that's carries the light source around. So the one of the key difficulties will be managing like who needs to see and trying to find your way around these buildings and stuff without both being seen but whilst being able to see what to allow your characters to see what they're doing and stuff. Probably pretty hard to pick a lock in the dark and stuff. So that it's simple, easy to implement, but it will also add a slight level of complexity to the game. And then there's going to be another character which is good at lifting things, carrying other characters around, and hopefully it just adds again just another like extra sort of series of puzzles and challenges we can do. So yeah. Right, hang on. Okay, so I'm kind of going to assume that if people are coming to see this sort of thing, they probably have some semblance of understanding of programming. I don't particularly like the idea of having to explain how to do programming as just in general. I don't mind so much, but it will. I'd imagine that if you're coming into this, you'll likely be the sort of person who already kind of knows enough. So with that in mind, I'll just start covering all of the basic classes. So I'll just minimize this. Actually, I'm just going to stop it entirely just so nothing happens. Right. So from the Armor Engine perspective, you have a couple of key classes. So you have your character class here, which is a character. Now this is something that's specific to the Unreal Engine and not in any other game, but sorry, not in not in most software languages, but all classes in the Unreal Engine have to have specific what would they be? Prefixes? Yeah. Based on what they inherit from. So an example here is a character inherits from actor. So from now on, anything that inherits from a actor has to have a and then whatever it is you want to call it. I believe this is to make it so the Christ, I've forgotten most of the terminology now, so that the compiler can do lots of clever things with macros. The vast majority of the Unreal Engine is based around macros. So it does a lot of very clever and useful things for you that you would otherwise have to manage yourself. I believe the key, I guess the key feature that I think it does is, if anyone's used Java before, it has garbage collection, which is where it keeps track of instances of objects in the system and detects whether or not they're being used. And in the Unreal Engine, it does the same with C++ classes, which isn't standard. You generally have to manage memory yourself, but in this instance, you don't have to do a thing really, unless you're doing something very unique. I haven't encountered many situations where I had to do memory management, basically. So yeah, and then you start getting to things like U property, right? So this is a C++ macro that goes above variables properties on a class. It's all owned exclusively in the header files, and this allows you to expose properties and operations, methods, functions, whatever you want to call them, to the blueprints. So if I was to create an instance of heist character, you will see in the blueprint you'll currently have access to camera boom, top-down camera component, and cursor to world, and they're just all straight standard. They just appear there as a set of configurable properties, essentially. Well, not specifically these ones, but I've got this. I'll show you an example. So I've made an enumeration, and this is how you define enumerations in the Unreal Engine. So you've got the C++ macro of blueprint type in a UE, or it's a unum, and then you just go enum class, and then similar to the actor, all the enumerations have to begin with an E. So I've then got E character. This tells it that it inherits from a uint 8, and there is a reason for this, and it's something to do with how it handles it in arrays and maps, I believe. There was some subtle complexity to it that I wasn't aware of in the past, and one of the guides I found or documentation said this is the way to do it, basically. So that's how I've been doing it from now on, and I'm assuming I encountered some issues with it in the past, but unfortunately I can't remember. And then you just, like you would in a normal enumeration, you define each of the enumerations in here. So I've then made it so every character, ice character, has a a variable of e character called character, and then this is telling it. Actually, I should probably change the category, so this would be. Sorry, my hard to type with where the microphone is. Hang on. So this will be. This is telling it that it's a property. It's visible anywhere, so that means it's visible anywhere in any view within the editor. So if you were to click on it in, say, the context of it being an instance in the world, you'd see it appear on the screen to the right. If you were within another blueprint, you could see it there, all that kind of stuff. Which allows you to, so you can then change this so that you can't see it everywhere. And there's some reasons you'd want to do that. Maybe it's a property that is only useful in calculations and doesn't need to be visible outside of that context. You know, something you wouldn't change on a per instance basis. And then this is blueprint read only at the moment, but I think you can do blueprint read write as well. If I, yeah, blueprint read write, which I'm going to do just to show you how you edit it. And this is currently a private property, so you do actually have the capabilities of allowing private access, which means you can then change this as if it was like a public property, essentially. I think this has some implications when it comes to inheriting from classes or manipulating it in blueprints or something. It's but yeah, I'll just show you what that's like actually in the editor, because this is, I suppose, the most fundamental aspect of C++ and the Unreal Engine is managing U properties and U functions, because you can do some very clever things with them. So if I hit play and then I eject, so this lets me come outside of the scope of this character. So I can click on him and hopefully, there we go. So there's character. I can't change it from here because it's already an instance kind of live in the application, but you can see here I've now got a category of character, the character property set to NA, which should be the first, oh no, it's the last enumeration. And then, so if you go into the, oops, sorry, I just clicked on market. I'm gonna load something I don't want. No, okay. So if we then find this in the content, there we go. Sorry, right. Go to blueprints. So it creates this by default as well. This isn't anything I've done. Come into here, and then we should see in here as well. Character. It's not letting me edit it in here. Let me just check one of my other projectors just to make sure. I'm pretty sure it's blueprint read, right? Ooh. Right. My other projects are a bit more finished, I suppose. Let's see, I suppose it would likely be on this. Download another instance. Blueprint callable, has no functions, edit anywhere. That's what I'm looking for. Let me close that. Right, it should be that. So the really cool thing about this is you can recompile straight off the bat, and then Okay. So it begins. Only one is allowed. Oh, that's gonna be. Oh, okay. Likely that. I think edit anywhere must include visible anywhere. It makes sense. It'd be a bit weird if it didn't, I suppose. Because if it wasn't visible everywhere, then you also wouldn't be able to edit it everywhere. Does this? Oh well. Maybe it's just from that perspective. Okay, I'm actually unsure as to why I can't now edit this. Okay. Well, it's normally that straightforward. That works in my other projects. Oh dear. Well, this isn't a good start. Just gonna make sure I've not done anything. Yeah, that's also private. Edit anywhere. It could potentially be a need an actual restart. Oh, sorry, that's something else. Oh, let's try and get at least one thing working today. It's a pretty straightforward concept anyway. And you should be able to look all of these up, all of these potential properties. Some things don't work with hot compile. Yeah, here we go. Okay, it may have just been that. So yeah, now I can change the default character to be whatever. And as you can see, this list is the same as the list here. And it's as straightforward as that. Fury, everything else should be pretty much like that, really. Just set the right properties on here and it works. Just pops up in here and job done. So I'll show you. So what I wanted to do first was, as we've already got by default all the movement and stuff, I thought it was best to work on interacting with objects. So what I've gone and done, just to make sure I still knew how to do it earlier, I created this interactable class. So I've made it extend an actor, because actors are the lowest form. Maybe a scene component might be lower, but they're sort of the lowest class in the hierarchy for an object that has a physical world position. Oh, and thanks to the follow, by the way. All my notifications are like hidden off to the side. There we go. So yeah. So this will allow us to give this a like attach a mesh to it. Just add a static mesh and then have it visible inside the game. So in theory, I think that's the case. Oh, come on. There we go. So let's just see what it has by default. So what I'm going to do, and this is a good way to approach doing this, so I want to see what's available to that particular class. So what you do is you right-click New Blueprint Class, and then you go to All Classes, and this is where you can see all of the classes that exist. So we want highlighting in blue anything that you've specifically created a subclass of. That allows you to that's cool. So that allows you to get a quick overview of all of the classes that you made use of, I suppose. Anyway, so we want to find the interactable here. So you can also do this, I think, from here directly. Yeah, you can create a new class or a new blueprint based off of that class. If you do it from C++, it will just come up as a new class that inherits from a interactable, essentially. So we're just going to call this door. I think it should just be, yeah, there you go. It's a drag droppable sphere, yeah. Oh, good grief, there we go. Oh, that's, am I right in thinking it's that, this is like a sprite, I believe, a default sprite for actors. And then, so if I go back to the code, let's see if we've got okay, how do you do this again? Let's have a look at it from the blueprints perspective. Right, so default root component. I'm basically looking if it has a static mesh as its default, as like a default property somewhere, which it doesn't appear to, but that's all right. So I think, so you can add, how did I do this before? So I guess the best way, so the easiest way to do it from a blueprint perspective is just to add, that's a skeletal mesh, hang on, a static mesh, and there you go. It's you just select one from your list. Let's have a cube. There you go, and drag it in, and we now have a cube. Then we hit play, and there's a cube in the world, right? And it's got physics. It's blocks. What do you call it? Blocks the movement and everything. And if you enable physics, this one will probably fall to the floor, etc. So, but if you want to do this from a C++ perspective, so let's remember how to do this. So we want to create a protected property. I think it's use static mesh. Call it mesh. And then likewise, like with the character, we probably want to steal this. Actually, call this the right. Oh, sorry, bashing the mic and everything. Actually, spell things correctly. Doesn't matter anyway. Okay, so then we make this edit anywhere, and then if you wanted to make, so if you were making this class and made it just so and you wanted to make it so it's all done through like the blueprints perspective, but it had all of the code managing stuff, you would be doing something around the lines of, so in here, when you create, sorry, in begin play, this is something I'll go over in a second, but you'd do add set root component. Yeah, set root component and mesh, right? So if we were now to go and run this again, so this begin play method is the one you want to be. Hang on. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, I need to set it as a pointer to a mesh. Does tend to help. What was I going for? So, I mean, like it says here, called when the game starts or spawned. Oh dear, why? What did I used to do with it? I'm sure that's how I always used to do it. Unless they've gone and changed it, of course. That would be mighty fun. Sorry, let me just search. I wish it wouldn't do that. Oh, okay. Sorry, it's not in here apparently. It should have been as straightforward as this, but yeah. Okay, so it's oh yeah, sorry, add component. Oh, manually attach transfer. Oh yeah, so it does all of that sort of stuff. And let me just try and see if I can find something with the word root in my old source code. It says it's in here. Right. Get root components attached. Yeah, okay, so I've just attached it to the root component. Because characters by default have a skeletal mesh. Last, this was supposed to be really, really straightforward. Oh no. Because most things that work in blueprints work in C++, but I suspect it does something differently here. Is it perhaps not a static mesh or something? I'm trying to think where I've done this before, because I'm pretty sure it's a standard thing in my other games, but apparently maybe not. I keep forgetting it opens in something else. No, okay, I hadn't done any more on those. Here's something, right? Ah, there you go. Yeah, it's a static mesh component. Sorry, because the static mesh is the information about the mesh, and the mesh component is something that graphically represents the mesh. They're two different objects, basically. And then you do this. I'm just literally stealing code from my other game, because if it works, don't fix it. Program physics, movable. And this will be attached to the root component. And then we kind of want blank, something like this. So this is a method that just has rules of how it attaches, and whether or not it maintains certain rotations and translations and stuff. So usually what I do if I don't understand what something like this does, I leave everything as default as possible, hit play and see what doesn't look right, and then look through the maybe try and find some examples. If not, I will probably mess around with properties until it works. So hopefully we'll be able to see the mesh as a variable in here. So if I go to the door, so you see it's got the mesh here, which it didn't have before, because it's under the character property as well. So if we hit that, hit compile, hit save, and then hopefully, mesh component, no. Oh, sorry, I had to actually have to instantiate mesh component somewhere. Oh, that's interesting. How have I done this before? That's protected. That's it's at the top here. Sorry. Okay, so this is something else. Hopefully, not too many of my ventures will be like this. This is something a bit more specific to the Unreal Engine, but hopefully it will. I'm sorry. Actually, I should probably close this. Anyway, don't need that anymore. There we go. Right. So when you create instances of objects in the Unreal Engine, you have to use their way of doing it, essentially. So just generally creating a new object, like say we wanted to have, so we've got a new, we're creating a new instance of an A interactable. So normally in C++, you do something like that, but you're not allowed to in the Unreal Engine, because first and foremost, anything that extends from actor has to be spawned in a world, and anything that gets instantiated has like a minimum amount of properties that need to be set in the base classes that wouldn't be done if you created them yourself. So in this instance, we do get world, and it's actually spawn actor. And then I hope I won't have to explain things like this too often, but you do the show left and right chevrons, and you say I want to spawn an actor of type A interactable, and then you just do open close brackets, and I think yeah, so class to spawn. Let me just find a working example just to make sure. I will be referring back to my old stuff because I know the vast majority of it works. Let's go to my volume. Yeah, so you'd have the location and the rotation, right? Which are does it have go to on this? I can't remember. Probably not things. Oh dear, doesn't matter, but they're going to be, what's it called from this perspective? It's oh, wait, does it only allow? Oh, it's just a vector basically. So you could do come on, f vector. There we go. I think this can do, it's just int, so we can go 0, 0, 0. That's the location, and then rotation different from this perspective. I think it's F rotation or rotated with the same premise. Yeah, pitch, yaw, and roll. God, I do so much of this stuff at work. Right, there we go. So in theory, if I rebuild this, shouldn't have any errors at least. This is where I'm horribly wrong, of course. But, this is what it's like. I mean, I spent nearly 3 years on my first game, just using it for a learning platform, really. Oh, okay. Where are we? Oh, blah blah blah. Yeah, we're missing parentheses. So just to explain this briefly, this is called a template class. So the method spawn actor takes in essentially an arbitrary class. It doesn't actually matter what the class is. And anyone who's familiar with using arrays that aren't normal arrays, like actually I probably shouldn't edit this whilst it's like that. Let me just throw up Notepad++, not Notepad. I mean, shove it into Java. So you'd have like your array, and then like we would have something like that, right? Well, actually, so that's the Java's default array list, but and that's the templated version, right? So the idea is it doesn't care what class it's using. Right, hang on, sorry. It's been so long since I've done C++. There we go, right. So we now have a pointer to an instance of a interactable that's spawning at 0, 0, 0, right? I'm probably going to get past a lot of these initial errors for getting pointers and stuff pretty quickly, I hope, because I don't do programming at work anymore. It's been a couple of years, but I did used to do quite a substantial amount of C++, working on simulators and things, so that was pretty cool. I'm working in diagrams and things, SysML and UML at the moment. So it's all this kind of stuff. I mean, I don't have SysML in Enterprise Architect because I'd need to buy the professional version or some bullshit, and it's like £500 just to be able to get some fancy diagrams. I was tempted at one point because I mean it's a permanent thing, but this is the classes. I mean, I could what am I looking for here? Stuff should be done in a second, but so just go to this. I'm just going to import the source code. Synchronize, yeah, whatever. There we go. So that just imported all the classes and stuff again, and we should be able to see. Oh, this is fancy. What am I looking for? Yeah, so it's got e character. It's a property on there. And we just added to interactables, so you've got the static mesh, the mesh component. Anyway, this should be done now. Let me close that one. Oh, right, so it's all good now, thankfully. This may not actually work in that, yeah, I thought as much. I've got to put it in begin play. So this is one of the key points for all of this. If you're doing anything that's needs to actually be created within the world, do it in begin play. The constructor should only be used to set up basic parameters, like really primitive stuff like names and strings, integers, and things which don't affect the world. But did I get rid of the? I honestly can't remember. Okay. All right. So when I hit begin play, does it work? Does it error? It errors. Something's probably coming back as null. I mean, this was just to show you how to spawn stuff in the world, but it probably shouldn't be used. Yeah, that's going to create an infinite loop. That's why. I'm probably not showing this very effectively at the moment. I'm sorry. I'll have another go later. Not later today, but like tomorrow at some point, and hopefully be able to just get things working straight off the bat. So we put one of them there. Hopefully we hit play. There we go. Right. Awesome. So if let's stop this. move this up here. Okay, so it doesn't have physics applied to it. But there you go. So just to clarify, just to go over this. So what we've done is we've added a mesh, static mesh, pointer to 1. So this is going to be something that exists, an asset in your project that's of type static mesh. And we've made it so you can assign it within blueprints. And then what we've done is created a static mesh component in begin play. In the constructor, you use this method create default sub-object, which you should use for, I think it's things like cameras, scene components, stuff that isn't really your code that you want to, your classes that you want to instantiate. There may be a bit more to it than that. I used to have the ability to actually go to these definitions, but something's disabled it or whatever. But the idea is you create, this creates a new instance of mesh component. Then on begin play, we check that you've actually assigned a mesh. There's no point doing it otherwise. Then you set the static mesh and mesh component, the mobility, collision, and attach it to the component. In our case, which is the root component, of course. And this is how you do things like attaching weapons to characters, maybe even like, I'm not so sure about armor. I think there's a separate system for that entirely. But this premise can be used in many different ways. And yeah, so there you have it, straight from essentially a couple of lines of C++ into, practical in use objects. I'm assuming this is just cannot be attached to itself. Okay, fair enough. Whatever. So yeah, that's the general idea of that sort of thing. So now we've got something that actually, an actor that spawns in the world. So the next step would be trying to make it so we can actually interact with this, right? I'll put it somewhere sensible and out of the way, if I can find it. Probably want to add something that could be visible in the editor. I think I just want to add like a, what's it called? I'm looking for like I think it's like target point or something. Arrow is quite useful. I just want something that's visible. Oh, whatever, I'll just add a base cube anyway. Whatever, we've proved we can do it in code, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'd imagine the collision's probably not set up correctly. I'll figure that one out and then next time try and show what I did. So in the editor, this is probably one of the most useful things you can do is if you press P, it generates all of the paths. So you can actually see how it's like dynamically changing the paths and stuff based on where we put things. Very useful. By default, if you press the end key, which is what we've just done there, it basically sets the base, the lowest part of the mesh, to the next closest down other sort of collidable object, basically. So I've imagine if we did this, yeah, it would snap to there. Currently, it's snapping to the center of this cube because the cube doesn't have collision, basically. But we'll manually adjust that there. So that's quite useful, if you're putting in stairs or making some complex rooms and stuff, and you just want to be able to see whether or not something can move around. This is all the default stuff in the scene, but it's the click on the damn thing. Oh wait, do you even need them nowadays? I can't remember. Or was it this? It's this. Yeah, so you have a Nav Mesh bounds volume, right? Which is this square here, just going along the bottom and around the edge. So if we were to make this a lot taller, which I think is Z in this case, just whatever. And now it should highlight the tops of everything. Or have I... Wait, what just happened? What have I done? That's the size, surely. Wait. Yeah, it's it. Okay, that's weird. It's changing. Okay, it's changing all the axes there. Sorry. It's some reason didn't have those set. There we go. Right, now you can see you can kind of... It's actually generated them on tops of the cubes and things. And you can change the... if I can click on it again, please. Thank you. You can change like the minimum size and all that kind of stuff, so it covers more area and stuff if you were working in the game with like smaller characters or something. Anywho, right, so we want this object to be interactable. So what we need to do is basically, using the mouse, detect what we click on, which is very straightforward. I will just find some example code from before, because, search the word under. Oh, I'm not using the cursor in this project. Okay, maybe it's... There's probably a very easy to use built-in method of doing this. Fortunately, I can't even show this old project off because it's too out of date and there's significant problems. Oh look, here's an exact method. Here's one I made earlier for all those Blue Peter fans out there. And yet again, I can't go into the definition. I'm gonna find it. So you've got this, yeah. So this is the default method, perhaps. I think that's... Oh no, okay, here we go. So this is a method I tend to create in a lot of my projects, and it's just get hit from cursor, and you pass in a collision channel, and then it basically sends back the hit result, and the hit result will contain... so if I go back to where it's used, so if it's a blocking hit, this means something has essentially it's detected some collision along the collision channel between the 2D position of your mouse projected into the 3D world, going straight down, I think, or it's like down relative to the angle of your camera, right? So blocking hit is a boolean, and it's basically has something been have I collided with something, right? It says a line trace, right? And then you can go get the hit, get the actor from the hit, and then you can do essentially standard casting of the object, right? So you can check whether or not it's of a certain type of class. Now, in C++, in the Unreal Engine, you do character, get class, you do the object, get class, is child of, and then you do the class and static class. So this is how you determine what the object is a type of. So, in order to make this a lot easier, because there's no point reinventing the wheel here, I'm going to literally steal this. Close this. So we need to go into our in-player controller from here. So again, this is all essentially default. So all this set up inputs and things. Let's move to mouse. I'm just going to put this right underneath the interact method. And then all you have to do, because it's basic C++, is change the class that this method's in. Of course, you have to go back into the header file. I've got Visual Assist, so it will do it for me because I'm lazy or efficient, whatever way around you see it. So that's there now. It's really matter where that goes, it's not that important. And then we kind of want to, again, like steal some code from here. So this is just basically get hit result under cursor is a default controller method. I think it's default in any type of controller, not just player, but I could be wrong. Actually, it would make sense if it was just inside the context of the player controller, as that's likely the only thing with a mouse. So, but in any case, so we get the hit, and then we're basically checking if it's found something, getting the actor, and then trying to find out what it is, right? So I'm just going to steal these lines here. Here, in fact. So when we interact with something, what we want to do is we don't know why. Oh, there was a reason I was doing that because of this. I've used polymorphism on that method, I'm guessing. Let me find out. If you don't know what polymorphism is, it's where you define. Oh no, sorry. Yes, something C++ does actually. Default properties. So I'm just going to do this as well. So in C++, unlike most unlike languages like Java, you can actually define default settings for parameters and methods, which allows you to bypass putting in the parameter at all. And if you do so, it uses the default instead. Right, so from here, so I'm just saying use the character collision by default, which I think the actor class is by default as well. I would imagine. That's what I've done in my other game anyway. So now we're checking if we've hit something, and it comes back as a actor, because only actors are the lowest form of objects, sort of within the world. I think, wait, is that right? Or is this? Yeah, no, it's just get actor, isn't it? 'Cause it's. Let me just find out what else is. Oh, so it's get component as well, which would be lower. Yeah, the lower form. Okay, so it's I guess if you're likely to get an actor, then it's probably quite, yeah. Sorry, if you're only likely to run this method when you're hovering over an actor, it's probably likely. You could probably assume that it's what am I going for? Sorry. You can probably assume that it's always going to be an actor. But just in case, we check it's not a null pointer. And then I'm just going to get rid of this because it's kind of unnecessary. I might condense this down later, but I find it better to be a bit more explicit, rather than bulking loads of and if not or else kind of stuff all in one statement, basically. Then we want to do a interactable. So like in all C++, you want to include classes. So it will be yep, okay. Just in case it picked up one from another project. It's too clever for its own good, and sometimes it picks up code from other projects. Oh, thanks for the follow. S being she. C, I don't know, CJ. Yeah. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Yeah, I thought as much. Cool. So yeah, sorry, it's gone back to the wrong class. There we go. Right, so we're going to assume it's an interactable, like we assumed it was an actor up here. So I'm just gonna that. I'm super lazy and copying and paste things all the time. So, so we're gonna want to do. It's gonna be hit dot actor cast. Is it cast from that point of view? Oh, I've gone and closed it. I'm a damn fool. Oh, sorry, I'm doing it from the wrong perspective. Yeah, the method is wrong way around. Close, but no cigar. So we want to cast this to a interactable. So it's another template class. So you say what class you want to convert it to. I think you need to say it's a pointer. No, you don't. Okay, some of them do. And then again, we need to check that this isn't null. Oh, we'll get there at some point. Eventually, we'll have something you can right-click on. Fair enough. I mean, I'm kind of doing this both for myself and for a lot of people on the Unreal Reddit who never seem to be able to find guides on how to do C++ for the Unreal Engine. and I'm trying to avoid having to explain sort of basic programming and stuff because it will just take far too long, I think. There's enough guides on that anyway. But what we're trying to do is create the sort of a basic game from scratch in the Unreal Engine, all in C++. And then I'm going to put the project up online for everyone to look at. So. Oh, awesome. What the odds? Yeah, that's fair enough. C++ is not too dissimilar from Java in many respects. Have you done any programming at all before? Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like specific to the Unreal Engine sort of stuff, but yeah, fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like to know a good example here, right? This is how it moves to where you click, right? So if I hit play, this is this should be. Oh, hang on, I haven't actually finished writing this code apparently. Oh wait, where did it go wrong? Oh, whoops. Sorry, I was gonna frap a load of nonsense. Oh yeah, that's something else. Just for everyone else, well, whenever you do an include in C++, in the Unreal Engine, the .generated.h always has to be last in the list. This is so it creates everything apart from this, then creates this, and then includes it. It's something like that. I did once actually look into it before. Let me do this again. Hopefully it should there shouldn't be any problem. Oh, for God's sake. Oh, that's a macro, right? Sorry. Whoops. What's the macro set to? Oh dear. I might never find it. This isn't promising. So, yeah, this is a macro, like a shortcut. No, not at all. This is just how it goes, unfortunately. You'll start doing something and then there'll be an error with something else you've done, and then you fix something and it will find a new problem somewhere else, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I guess have I defined it in here? Oh, why do you have to keep starting up a new instance of Visual Studio? Well, just to carry it on, actually let's open it in here because it might, there we go. I honestly don't have a clue why it keeps doing that. Yeah, it's like I've worked in the industry for a really long time, and you learn very quickly that you literally have to change one thing somewhere and you can end up breaking absolutely everything if you're not too careful. In any case, this is just something I forgot about. So this is generic to C++, but you can define macros, which essentially makes the compiler do a find and replace. So you can write like a massive line of code here, In fact, I've probably got a few examples of that because I absolutely love shortcuts and stuff like that. So I'm super lazy, which has its advantages because I tend to write a lot. Again, I tend to shorthand quite a substantial amount of things, and it yeah, so you don't have to understand necessarily what the code here does. Yeah, lazy people often find the quickest ways to do things. So this macro is basically, I've made an equivalent of this, but you only have to write this first part, if this makes sense. So the second part of this will replace the first part wherever you write it in your code. And it's no different from you doing a find and replace in Word. So you could have like just a single word or series of numbers or something, and then you find and replace in a Word document that with like a massive paragraph of text, and it puts it how it should be. And you can do like mathematical equations and stuff. It's quite cool. So, but in this case, I've used this, so I might as well put it in there because it's quite useful. I'll put it in the controller up the top here. Right, round 2. Yeah. I'm hoping I can help a lot of people by doing this. I may not be the best at game development, but I certainly code quite well. Right, there we go. Okay, so just as a proof of concept sort of thing, if I debug this code here, in theory, when I right click, if it detects that it's hit something, there's an actor, and the actor is a type of interactable, we should reach this line of code, in theory. Oh dear. Hang on. Let's go to there. There we go. Right. So what that means is it's run the interact code. It's got a hit from the cursor. It's found something. So it's got an actor. So yeah, this is cool, right? So you've got so just from that right click, it's used the cursor, translated it into a 3D position, traced downwards relative to the camera, forwards relative to the camera, I suppose, and then found an actor underneath it, which happens to be of type A interactable, and it's apparently it's door3_2, whatever that is. That's a default name it gives the instance of the class. And then it probably won't do anything down here because this code doesn't do anything and it's probably compiled it away. But if we were to do something like destroy. So if I hit continue, I'll just stop, in fact. So now when I run this, going for an hour and 20 minutes. Jeez. Now when I run this, besides the messing around, it destroys it. When I right click, so it's gone all the way through, interact, detected the objects, found it's an interactable and kills it. Simple as that. And there's a lot of, probably most people are going to have trouble with more complicated things like interacting with, yeah, I know, right? With like, I don't know, interacting with like animations or managing AI properly or UI and all that kind of stuff. But hopefully, after a couple more times of me doing this, I'll get to the point where we're starting to work on like HUD and UI, animations and stuff like that. But I'm running out of oxygen, so I'll probably need to stop for now and come back tomorrow or something. But just as a proof of concept, there it is, and hopefully I can upload this to YouTube and start essentially a tutorial series for doing stuff in C++. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say I'd make some suggestions on best ways to learn how to do programming effectively, but like obviously you're going to be learning about it anyway. But I personally wasn't taught very well programming specifically. I ended up doing Minecraft plugins for the Bucket API, which is like a non-modded version of Minecraft. So yeah, that's all sort of oh cool. See if I've got the projects on here. Where's Eclipse? There's Eclipse. Yeah, Minecraft plugins are actually a lot of fun. Not because it's Minecraft or a game as such, but because you can visualize your code. You know, you can actually see it doing stuff. Actually, I don't have the projects on here. Let me fire up. So I've got these are all of my repositories on GitHub. I got like my arenas stuff. This was literally just I say just, so you could create like arenas. I basically made my Minecraft server into an MMO. So you had classes, professions, guilds, dungeons, and raids. And this was the sort of the dungeons and raids mods. So you've got this massive overkill class. No, unfortunately, it's all Java, which is all this nonsense. This thing is an absolute monolithic amount of code because it manages all of the commands. Oh, cool. But yeah, this was like really heavily maths based and managing players, and you had to do an extortionate amount of error checking. It was absolutely beyond reason. I spent several months making sure that every method had some kind of, if it doesn't work, tell the player what's gone wrong kind of methods. I wish I could show it to people in action. Maybe I could download the Bucket API version that I was using alongside this. Might still work. Yeah. lots of config editing and all that sort of stuff. It was good fun. And yeah, don't know. Don't know what to say really. I've worked on. I've not completed my own game before, but I've worked with other people to help them do significant features and bug fixes. I actually indirectly helped some people on Escape from Tarkov, I think it was. I very much regret not being allowed to work on that project because that would have been cool. But something to bear in mind if you want to get into the Unreal Engine kind of stuff, or at least games and things. If you actually go on like their Reddit, you can kind of catch game developers asking for like help and things, and you can some of them actually occasionally ask for people to help work on their projects and stuff. There's a couple of paid jobs and things on there, and the Unreal forums as well has like like sub sections devoted to people looking for people to work for free, essentially just working on game projects and things. So yeah. But yeah, that's don't know. That's it for now. I'll probably try and do this again tomorrow, and hopefully get some people interested in doing this, and maybe help some people on Reddit because there's a question today. Awesome. Thanks for chilling out, I suppose. Don't know if programming's particularly entertaining to watch. I do play games and do music and stuff as well, but everybody does that. Yeah. I'll try and be on tomorrow. Fair enough. Cheers. Sorry for my wow. Firstly, for losing my train of thought all the time. Secondly, my voice is just gone. I'll see you guys around.